Saturday.
Okay. We need to approve the March minutes.
I move to approve the March minutes.
Okay, does anybody second that?
I second that.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, anybody, those not in favor? Okay, the ayes have it and the minutes are approved. I would like to note, if you are a guest or the first time that you're here, if your name's not on the sign-up sheet, please will you print it someplace on the sign-up-in sheet? And also, too, please make sure that it does get rotated around, that it doesn't stop by you, because there's been several times where I've had to go off my memory. Thank you.
First off, Father Jim is not here because a very dear friend of his died from his last parish in Montgomery at St. Peter's, and so let's pray for Father Jim. Father Jim has done a beautiful service for us and our community, helping us build this thing. But I wanted to say a few things about Father Jack, not a lot, but nothing really complimentary. But he has, from the very beginning, been with us since 2010, 2009 and 10, before we even started the Servants of the Redemptor. So we had our first Mass, like we do today, was in our home on February 9th, 2013. And so he has been with us a long time, and today the whole time during the Mass, with his getting sick and just everything that's happened over the course of the last year, what come to mind during the Mass was that Jesus said to Peter, Satan has tried to sift you. And during the whole Mass, that's what I think was the most prevalent thing for me, is that he has tried to sift Father. He's tried to sift me. He's tried to sift, our families. He's done this, but we're still here. And that's the beauty of this organization and the beauty of the Dominican Order and our larger church. So Father Jack has got a few things. He's, like he said, hasn't had said Mass in 5 months. Actually, it's January. So it's the 5th month, so 4 full complete months he hasn't said Mass. But he has the strength now, and thanks to Frank and a lot of people that are assisting, just pitching in and trying to make this thing work, But he's got a few things to say. He's observed the community in a different way, just being here every day and praying with us, and give him the mic and let him go.
Thank you, Tim. It has been a privilege to be here from the beginning, to see this all grow and take root. I do want to start out by asking your special prayers for Frank, for putting up with all my BS and everything for 4 months. And he's done a good job. He's a good cook, and I appreciate that. I went to my doctor the other day, and he said my blood sugar's down to almost normal. My AC1 is what they call it, AC, whatever. A1C, yeah, A1C is almost normal at 7.5, and it should be down to 7. It was up to 13, so but anyway, he said he wanted to meet Frank, so I said, no, that's my secret weapon. So, but anyway, I'll begin here. Brothers and sisters in Christ, as members of the Order of Preachers, we are called not only to contemplate the truth, but to hand it on in a way that serves the salvation of souls. This includes not only our prayer, our preaching, but also the manner in which we live, give, and participate in the life of the church. In recent conversations, a concern has been raised, namely, whether we as a chapter are sufficiently engaged in serving the poor and supporting the church through the ordinary means expected of the faithful. This is serious and an important question, and it deserves a clear and faithful response. First, let it be said without hesitation, the church's call to charity is binding upon us. The corporal and spiritual works of mercy, they are not optional. The support of our parishes, our priests and those in need remain a real obligation, and we must never set this aside. But at the same time, the church in her wisdom teaches not only about acts of charity, but also about justice, particularly in the ordering of economic life. The Catechism reminds us in a strong term that those whose Eusebius and Arvius, is that how you pronounce that, or Arvarius, let's start that over, those whose usurous and Arvarius dealings lead to the hunger and death of their brethren, indirectly commit homicide. Did you ever think about that? That is powerful. Those whose usurous and Arvarius dealings that lead to the hunger and death of their brethren indirectly commit homicide. This teaching places before us a deeper responsibility. It's not enough to respond to suffering after it appears. We must also examine and, where possible, address the conditions that give rise to that suffering. Throughout history, the poor have always been the first to bear the weight of economic disorder. When systems become unstable, when value is eroded, or when access to basic goods become uncertain, it is the most vulnerable who suffer most quickly and most severely. In light of this, some among us have felt called to undertake a work that may not immediately resemble traditional forms of parish support, but which is nonetheless ordered toward the same end, the protection of the poor and the service of the church. This work seeks to build in a modest and local way a more stable and virtuous economic framework, one rooted in real value, stewardship, and mutual responsibility. It is an effort to prepare something that could serve families, communities, and even parishes, particularly in times of strain and instability. This should not be understood as a rejection of the Church's ordinary means of charity. Rather, it is an extension of them. If the works of mercy are the Church's response to immediate need, then this work may be understood as a form of preparatory charity, an attempt to strengthen the conditions under which those works can continue to be carried out effectively. We do not claim certainty about the future, but prudence, which is a virtue, calls us to recognize that times of difficulty do come, and that the Church has always benefited from those who prepared in advance, not only spiritually, but materially, for the sake of others. Therefore, I invite each of you to consider your place in this work. Some may be called to contribute through direct service to the poor in familiar ways. Others may be called to help build, support, and refine this emerging framework, offering time, skill, resources, or simply a willingness to learn and participate. These are not competing paths. They are complementary. The goal is one, that the church may be strengthened in her mission, and that the poor may be protected, not only in moments of crisis, but in the very structure of the life we are helping to build. As Dominicans, we are not content with surface-level responses. We are called to go to the root, to seek truth, to act with charity, and to serve with charity, rightly ordered. Let us then move forward, not in division, but in unity and purpose, trusting that the Lord, who sees all things, will bring fruit from what is offered in sincerity and faith. In the months ahead, we will hear more and more about how we can each be a part of this in our own way, and open our hearts to the calling of the Blessed Virgin Mary. Each of us are important in this. Each of us have a role. Each of us can touch others in a special way. You can touch others in a way that neither me nor the deacons can. But we are all called to do God's work and to work towards making the lives of the poor more livable. Amen.
Okay, so for some time we had, we went over the rule before the chapter meetings, and we kind of felt as though that was redundant. We went through them about 10 times. So, but we have 4 new candidates coming in June at the next chapter meeting, and they've prepared through the postulant phase going into the novitiate. They're going to be received in, and so we felt like it was time to renew and look again, and we're all responsible for living the rule of St. Dominic. So I'm going to, Deacon Tom is going to start with rule number 1, and then Casey's going to go.
Thank you, Tim. Can you hear me okay? As Tim said, we're going to start with rule number 1, and it is as follows. Among Christ's disciples, men and women living in the world are made participants in the prophetic, priestly, and royal office of our Lord Jesus Christ by virtue of their baptism and confirmation. They are called to make Christ's presence radiate in the midst of all peoples, so that the divine message of salvation may be known and accepted everywhere by all people. And again, that's rule number 1 from your rule book, so if you haven't looked at it in a while, you might want to get it out, dust it off, take a look. The last part of that last sentence, that the divine message of salvation may be known and accepted everywhere by all people, is from the Second Vatican Council decree on the apostolate of the laity. This decree affirms that all baptized lay people have a direct right and duty to engage in apostolic work. It emphasizes that the laity are called to sanctify the world and renew the temporal order through their professional and social lives in opposition, bringing the gospel to their particular spheres of influence. Now, as Father Jack just mentioned, the priest and sometimes maybe the deacon does not encounter the people that you do. So in your families, in your workplaces, in your society, your neighborhoods, you're the ones who are to bring this gospel message to the people. This is not always an easy task, as there are many people who do not want to be sanctified, many who do not want to live holy lives, many who do not want to hear what we have to say. It would seem that the majority, at least in our Western culture, have been unduly influenced by the world to live their lives in opposition to the way and the truth and the life, Jesus Christ. First and foremost, our mandate to sanctify the world has to begin with our own efforts to live holy lives. As we cannot give to others what we do not have, we cannot be to others what we are not. On the day of my ordination, I had to kneel in front of the bishop and hold the book of the Gospels as he said, "Receive the gospel of Christ, whose herald you have become. Believe what you read, teach what you believe, and practice what you teach." From that day, on August the 15th, 2009, I have striven to live by this promise, and I urge you as Dominicans to do the same. Know your Catholic faith, the sacred tradition, and the scriptures. Teach it and live it. Do not be like the scribes and Pharisees, whom Jesus said appeared righteous on the outside, but on the inside were filled with hypocrisy and evil doing. I sense that there will be a special place in hell for hypocrites. Do not be a hypocrite. But be not afraid. Be not afraid to stand up for the truth. I've told this story before, but it fits here, so you're going to hear it again. The parish council was working on a new mission statement, and we had narrowed the list down to 4, I think. 2 of them contained language that I had pushed for, indicating our primary mission to be the salvation of souls. One of the council officers and one with undue influence in the parish offered his preference for one of those 2 if we could just remove that part about the salvation of souls. And when I asked why, he pointed to a crucifix and said, "Jesus died on the cross for our salvation, and we've all been saved. We don't need to be concerned with that anymore." I immediately tried to school him on Catholic teaching concerning salvation, but he was hearing none of it. And I was soon told that the discussion was over and we were moving on. I may or may not have had any influence on him, but there were others there, too, in the room, and I had to refute what I saw as false teaching for their sake. With prudence and love, we must stand up for the truth when the opportunity is given to us. We must be Christ-like. We must be transformed into the one we consume in the Eucharist. And in our efforts to proclaim his message for the salvation of souls, we must be willing to die for him. To emphasize the importance of our call to proclaim the divine message of salvation, as you have probably heard me say this before, the Code of Canon Law has 1,752 canons, and the last part of the last canon, number 1,752, says that the salvation of souls, which must always be the supreme law in the Church, is to be kept before one's eyes. The Code of Canon Law has its most important norm in the very last canon, as it overarches all the others. The salvation of souls is the highest law of the Church. It is the reason for our existence. In the end, our eternal salvation is all that matters. As Jesus said, "If any man would come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever would save his life will lose it, and whoever loses his life for my sake and the gospel's will save it. For what does it profit a man to gain the whole world and forfeit his life?" Now, Satan is the great deceiver. He is the liar and the father of lies. His greatest deception is to have us believe that he doesn't exist. Close behind that is the deception that our salvation is assured, that we can do whatever we want because God loves us no matter what we do. I can't tell you the number of times that I have heard a funeral homily or read an obituary where there was expressed this certainty that the deceased was now in heaven, but it's been quite a few. As Dominicans, especially, we know better. That's why the emphasis on the praying for the dead, making a pure offering for the salvation of souls, and having masses said for them. But above that, in importance, is again, as rule number 1 states, we are called to make Christ's presence radiate in the midst of all peoples, so that the divine message of salvation may be known and accepted everywhere by all people. You can't pray someone out of purgatory if they're not there, if they are in hell. My brothers and sisters, the Apostle James gives us the ultimate reason for proclaiming the gospel and the divine message of salvation through word and deed when he says, "If anyone among you should stray from the truth, and someone brings him back, he should know that whoever brings back a sinner from the error of his ways will save his soul from death and will cover a multitude of sins." Again, we have the right and the duty to make Christ's presence known and felt everywhere by all people. We are the salt of the earth. We are the light of the world. And that's all I have to say about rule number 1. The second thing I wanted to say is that we do have a tentative schedule set up for a new postulant class that will start on June the 9th. It'll run for the second Tuesday of the month for 6 months. And then the novitiate, which Tim had alluded to earlier, that we have 4 people who are going to be starting that process, will be on the 4th Tuesday of the month, starting June the 23rd. And I hope you don't mind, but we have a visitor here, Bruce Roberts, if he would stand up a second. He's from Whitesville, Kentucky. I just met him 30 minutes ago, so some of you may already know him. But he has said that him and his wife may be joining us, so we're glad to have you here this morning. And I'd also like to tell you that if you know of anybody that's interested in this postulant program we're going to start, please contact Leah Haley. She is the Director of Formation. And again, I'd like to say that, we're not looking for quantity. We're looking for quality. We want people who are like-minded and are looking for some way to help in proclaiming the gospel for the salvation of souls, okay? So again, think quality, not quantity. Thank you.
Casey?
Here's Casey.
Good morning. Dues are due, okay? So I'm the treasurer, so I'm just going to remind you guys that June 1st, the province is wanting us to submit the grand total of the dues. And so in the next month or so, myself will be trying to gather up all the dues from you guys. It's $33 a member, and then your spouse gets a discount. It's only $10 for your spouse. So, so that's comes to $43 for a couple. And we will. I'll get with Deacon Tom and several other people in Kent, and we'll determine who has DME, enough DMEs in their account, and we may pull it out as a transaction. And if you don't have a DME account, or if you don't have sufficient funds, I'll come and approach you and see if you have a check or a cash or pay however is convenient for whoever. So that's pretty much it. That'll happen this month, maybe in a couple weeks more than likely, because we got to get it all together before the June 1st. So, all right, that's all I had to say.
So, about, I don't know, Bob, when did you go to Rome?
Last June.
Last June. Wow, that's amazing. Well, anyway, we met, Bob met and made contact with 2 lawyers over there that agreed to assist us to go over statutes and kind of look at what we're doing here in the light of the salvation of souls, number one, but just make sure that everything was being addressed canonically. And so we got that feedback back. And there's 2 lawyers that can argue any kind of case on our behalf in the 2 courts. One is the Roman Ruta, and the other is the Apostolic Signatura. So if there's ever any kind of a question and someone has a problem with what we're doing, we have representation in Rome. And because they sent our statutes back and they saw the good that we were trying to do, they saw our intention and our how we're trying to serve the common good. And so we've got them here. We're not going to publish them, but they are here if anybody wants to come and read them and become clear. So anyway, the reason the salvation of souls is always the overall arching reason for all that we do. That's the spirit of which that's the church's mission. And so laws are made, statutes and laws civilly, statutes canonically. They're made to keep things on the rail, okay? And but there's also some abuses, like the laws are passed, and then those who are with maybe not necessarily nefarious dealings, but trying to control what goes on when and wherever things are happening. Statutes are used to suppress the good sometimes, and that's what's happening. So we receive every day, every Thursday, offerings from the faithful, and they're presented, and they become liturgical goods, and they're sacred as the statutes are written. They're sacred goods, so they're not for ordinary use anymore. So that's why we wrote these statutes, to make sure that they're handled properly, okay? So they're stored here, and we circulate them, but they're not to be given out. They're just to be used as offerings, okay? So when we did this, we knew that there would probably be some abuses. It's just the way it is. And so we're passing around a coin that was defaced, and they grinded down the Virgin Mary image and the back of the M. So we have to now look to how are we going to handle these types of metals as they become liturgical goods. What are we going to do? So that's another thing we got to address. How are we going to handle defaced metal? So, but that's one thing. Here's the statutes. They're in Father Sassi's and Leah's office, so if you ever want to look at it. So we had a survey that came around, and we filled it out and got back to them, and the Dominican order is asking how much you think your members know about a lot of the different things that we teach pretty much regularly. So we're going to get a little bit of feedback, but there's one thing we are going to start doing is praying the Dominican Rosary on the first Saturday at the chapter meetings, so that everybody can say that they know and can say and lead a Dominican Rosary in the outside. So there is, Barbara's got them. Okay, so we're just going to hand them out, but we'll hand them back out next Saturday, and we'll follow this as we go forward until everybody gets familiar with it. We have our own little tradition here, and we'll continue doing that on the weekdays, but on the first Saturday and chapter meetings, we'll pray the Dominican Rosary. So, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Could you quickly differentiate what sets the Dominican Rosary apart from the regular Rosary?
Well, it's sequence. A lot of it is the same. Make the sign of the cross. You got pray a glory be. Well, we can handle that right here. But it's the same thing, except we've added a lot of things to it, a lot of prayers. They're specific prayers. It's a lot less than what is normally done here. And a lot of people add prayers, and those prayers are not, particularly at the beginning and at the end. The 5 decades are pretty much the same. Am I correct? Okay. So, and there's also, when we went over to the, Saint, I draw a blank. Who was the, Louisville? Where am I? Where do we go? What's it? Sir Louis Bertram. They have their own way of saying the Dominican Rosary. So it's like, yeah, it's a Dominican Rosary, but everybody's got their own little Dominican version of the Dominican Rosary. So, but it's pretty simple, and it's a lot. It'll be a lot quicker. I mean, it'll be a lot quicker. But anyway, so Father Sassy was going to talk about the communion rail, give us a little bit of history. That'll be postponed until June. He was called to Pittsburgh. So, but our goal is to teach about why we have the communion rail and why this is sacred space, and how they were tore down, and why we have everybody at the altar now in a lot of these parishes and dioceses throughout the country. So anyway, sanctuary is going to be a topic that he's going to be talking about next in June. So just a FYI to prepare everybody. So I think it was 2 months ago, maybe it was a month ago. No, we didn't have a meeting last month. But 2 months ago, we talked about the picture, the painting that was had been commissioned and where they were. We showed some pictures of it. It's completed, and I'm going to have, go ahead, Larry play the introduction and the creation video from Kate. So Kate and Paul, who's from Poland, and their son will be here August 8th. They're going to bring the painting, and we're going to go through a session and a half. I think it's the second Saturday in August. So we'll move our chapter meeting to the second Saturday in August to accommodate this. But we'll have a session of what they call Vigio Divina. So they'll explain, and we can pray through this exciting idea, I think. So anyway, some of you may not be able to see it, but there's a red piece of tape. Can you see it? Nope. Okay, it's right here, right there. And then there's a piece of tape here, and a piece of tape over there, and then there's a piece of tape down here. And that's going to be the size, and that's where this is going to go. Okay, and then we'll take our offerings to a table that John, Casey, and Bob are constructing out of the other portions of the communion rail that we have left over. So Dominic will be moved to this space where the kneeler is, and he'll be the same height. We're going to try to keep the same height, so he's over there. But the picture obviously will have another table made for the offerings from the communion rail. And then we're also making a ambo for that's left over from the communion rail. By the way, the communion rail is about 110 years old. It came from a church in Ireland. We found it on the internet from in Kansas City. And so Bob, Casey, and John are the ones that basically restored this and brought this in. But Father John's going to talk about it a little bit more. Okay, so the primary thing now would be to talk about our trip to Medjugorje. So Chris, if you could.
Can we move that screen out? It's really hard for the people over here to see that screen. We gotta do, Deacon Tom first. Oh, you, okay, yeah, that's good.
So,
Yeah.
this is a video we made about, I think in 2017.
2017.
With Deacon Tom Gable.
On June 24th, 1981, in a small village of Bosnia-Herzegovina, Medjugorje, the Blessed Mother began appearing to 6 children, one of whom Mariana Solo, and as of 2017, apparitions are still occurring to 3 of the 6 visionaries. Throughout the years, this supernatural event has survived countless efforts of governmental authorities who have tried to negate these apparitions. The visionaries have endured much hardship, undergone numerous scientific studies, and suffered strong condemnation from many church adversaries, all of whom have attempted to destroy this mediation between God and man. Yet, the apparitions live on, giving witness to the loving mercy of God through His Mother. God desires us to understand that Mary is His chosen instrument, who will lead God's people to eternal salvation. Mary is our Queen, our Mother. She is our co-redemptrix, our mediatrix, our advocate. And it is through her that the King of Peace wishes to reign and rule. Mary continues to appear to Mariana Solo on the 2nd of every month, revealing to her a message that is meant for the entire world. We would like to share the message with people of faith.
guess you can't read that. Dear children, apostles of my love, it is up to you to spread the love of my Son to all those who have not come to know you. You, the little lights of the world, whom I am teaching with motherly love to shine clearly with full brilliance. Prayer will help you because prayer saves you. Prayer saves lives of the world. Therefore, my children, pray with words, feelings, merciful love, and sacrifice. My Son has shown you the way. He who became incarnate and made me the first chalice with his exalted sacrifice. He has shown you how you need to love. Therefore, my children, do not be afraid to speak the truth. Do not be afraid to change yourselves in the world by spreading love, by doing everything for my Son, to be known and loved by loving others in him. As a mother, I am always with you. I'm imploring my Son to help you for love to reign in your life. Love that lives, love that draws, love which gives life. I am teaching you such love, pure love. It's up to you, my apostles, to recognize it, live it, and spread it. Pray with feeling for your shepherds so they can witness my Son with love. Thank you.
Salve Regina, Mater misericordiae, vita.
That's a great opening to what I have to say. And Our Lady says that each one of us has a role in the salvation of mankind. And it's through prayer and contemplation that we come to discern our particular role. And I think today's meeting really reiterates that part about our role because it's the redemption of mankind. So Tom talked about it, Tim talked about it. Redemption of mankind is important to her mission in Medjugorje right now. She told the visionaries that no one finds out about Medjugorje by accident. In fact, many described their visits as a response to a summons. And we kind of felt that way too. People who have never traveled from their hometown before, and I mean never left small towns around the United States and in Europe, suddenly get the urge to go halfway around the world to see what? To get the message of the Blessed Mother. They find love, joy, and peace in this isolated little hamlet. The Blessed Mother wants to bring peace to the world by showing us how to love her Son and each other in order to bring peace to the world. Pilgrims experience healings, both physically and spiritually, and leave with a renewed sense of purpose in life. You can go back to that slide so I can kind of show you that. Yeah. Just to give you a sense of what it takes to get there, it took us 35 hours to get to Medjugorje. And once you land in Sarajevo, you still have a trip up the mountain to get to Medjugorje, and it's like a 3.5, 4 hour trip. So we left on Sunday, and we arrived on Tuesday night. So it was a pretty arduous journey, but I think there was factors that wanted to keep us from getting there. But again, you're summoned, and so you find a way. And once we got there, life completely changed. This is a view of Cross Mountain from my room. And so you can, it doesn't, slow down, Doug.
Oh, okay.
It doesn't show you the terrain through the trees. There is, through these trees, huge rocks that you have to climb over to get up there. This is not an easy journey. takes a couple of hours, and on the way up, you have basically the way of the cross. So you can meditate on Jesus' journey while you're climbing to the top, and then you have to get back down too. So it's arduous. I did not make that journey; they wouldn't let me. So we had Father Sassy and Tim, and ironically, they made that journey on Passion Sunday. So really, really cool. Anyway, the story about Medjugorje begins here. This cross was erected in 1933 on the 1900th anniversary of Jesus' death. And inside is a relic of the original cross. And outside the inscription reads, "To Jesus Christ, Redeemer of the human race, as a sign of our faith, love, and hope, in remembrance of 1900 years since the death of Jesus." Then the Stations of the Cross were added later, and it's just a fitting journey for the pilgrims as they climb the mountain. The Blessed Mother told the children in 1984 that the cross was also in God's plan when it was built, and that it's a place to leave your hearts of stone and find inner peace. And here that was in our reading this morning about the hearts of stone. So, this is the terrain, just to let you know how rough it is to get up. And people take this trip in bare feet. In fact, the guy that runs the tour group that we had did this for his father for his conversion, and it worked. So he climbed it barefoot. It's very difficult terrain, as you can see. This is one of the Stations of the Cross that you do on the way up. But you can see that is not an easy climb for anybody. But they do stop it there. Can you stop it? Okay.
Go by.
Yeah, no, just stop it there. This is called Apparition Hill, and this is where the children actually got their original visions, okay? And then you climb Apparition Hill, and there's another big statue of the Blessed Mother up on top. And on the way, you pray the joyful mysteries. It's joyfuls on the way up, right? And then you do sorrowfuls when you're up on top. And this is a whole different mountain, by the way. You have two. We were staying in between both of those mountains. We were staying in between Apparition Hill, which is actually a mountain, and Cross Mountain. And so you could allegedly walk to both of them, but our first day, here we are jet lagging after 35 hours. And Ivana, who's the niece of Maria, the apparitionist, she says, "Oh, we're going to walk into town for Mass." And we're thinking, "Oh, okay, yeah, we'll walk to Mass." It was like 10 miles. Everybody was so exhausted by the end, I wanted to call a cab going down the street. "Take me back, please." But anyway, it is a loving way to see the town, because when you're on your way to church, you see all the statues that they've erected. As the kids, and I'll go into that in a minute, the kids, when the apparition started, you know, they were in a communist country. It was Yugoslavia, and they did not want people talking about God. And so the Blessed Mother had to appear. They put up barbed wire fences around this whole mountain so that people couldn't go up there, and they lined it with army troops. And so the Blessed Mother, God love her, would just start appearing right in front of the army troops, and the kids would fall down on their knees. And so in those little spots around the city, there are statues commemorating where she appeared. Let's see. Okay, it's interesting to note that during the 1991 through 96 Bosnian War, following the breakup of Yugoslavia, that Serbs frequently attempted to destroy the cross up on Cross Mountain. I mean, they they detonated things, they set bombs, they went up in the sky and dropped bombs. None of them would go off. Okay, you can just stay there for a second. So that kind of reminds you of the Old Testament where Jesus was protecting the Israelites. 20 years earlier, Our Lady was appearing to a group of 4 little girls in Garabandal, Spain. I probably didn't pronounce that right. At the same time, Pope John Paul was calling for Vatican II, which emphasized a universal call to holiness and a specific active mission to sanctify the temporal order, politics, family, and the work role of the laity in modern leadership. So, again, the laity. How many times did we talk about that already today? The responsibility of the laity in the church. Then, historical events began to collide with this little village in Croatia. The fall of the Berlin Wall in late November of 1980 symbolized the collapse of the Soviet communism in Eastern Europe, and this eventually would lead to the breakup of Yugoslavia. Then President Reagan was shot in January of 1981. Pope John Paul was shot in March of 1981. Then the apparitions began in Medjugorje in June of 1981. Thus, Medjugorje is the fulfillment of divine providence, Our Lady of Peace. She came with an urgent message for today's sinful world, a message of peace in a war-torn world. The Queen of Prophets was coming at a moment in church history when her particular guidance and consolation from God was needed. God did not exist officially to the communist government of Yugoslavia, and when this sleepy little hamlet of 400 was transformed by the apparitions into an international place of pilgrimages, the government became alarmed and began to crack down. Troops were sent to circle the mountain and barbed wire installed to prevent anyone from reaching the apparition sites. When the apparitions persisted around the village, and sometimes right in front of the soldiers, the children were arrested and subjected to hours of psychological tests. You saw that in the pictures in Deacon Tom's video. The villagers began to hide the children, so they arrested and sentenced the parish priest to 3 years in prison. Mary showed the children visions of their pastor in prison and started to appear to him in prison and show him the children. So she was communicating that everybody was safe.
Chris, we can't hear you back here hardly.
Oh, you can't?
You're waving it around.
I'm sorry. The visitors kept coming in spite of government's best efforts, and the village began to grow. Residents started to add rooms to their homes, and the influx of visitors sometimes caused them to have to erect tents. The economy was tanking in Yugoslavia because they really didn't have a government anymore when communism fell. So the Medjugorje started to prosper because people were coming into town, and the townspeople had to take care of them somehow. So little restaurants popped up, and B&Bs, and everybody was building. So it was causing a lot of growth in Medjugorje. Pilgrims were experiencing an overwhelming sense of love and peace, and calling their visits the turning point of their lives. They returned to their homes and shared these things with others who in turn made the trip. In her early messages, Mary urged people to conversion by prayer, fasting, frequent confession, and daily mass. This is one of her first messages. I have come to tell the world that God is truth. He exists. In him, good fortune and fullness of life. I have come here as Queen of Peace to tell the world that peace is essential to the salvation of the world. In God is found true happiness. He is the source of peace. My dear children, I call you to peace. Live it in your heart and all around you, so that everyone may know the peace that does not come from you, but from God. Dear children, I desire you to be a reflection of Jesus who enlightens. This unfaithful world is walking in darkness. I wish for you to be a light to all and a witness to the light. You are not called to darkness, you are called to light. Live the light in your lives. Medjugorje was becoming the Marian affirmation of Vatican II. Our Blessed Mother is calling the laity. All 10 of the visionaries from Garabandal and Medjugorje have married and raised families rather than going into religious life. And that's sort of different from Lourdes and Fatima, you know. So it really emphasizes the laity and family life. But 20% of the priests around the world owe their vocation to Medjugorje, from going to Medjugorje. And is anybody familiar with Father Beard?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sorry?
I don't mind to it.
Do you? Really? You'll have to tell us about it in a minute. Father Beard was a corporate executive. I think he was president of a $1 billion corporation.
He was
And-
a ladies' man.
Yeah, and he, he had girls in every port and drove Porsches and the whole bit. And his father made him go to Medjugorje, and 3 days into it, he knew he wanted to be a priest. Can you imagine him going home and telling all his girlfriends? And he became one of the greatest priests in our country. I'm telling you, unbelievable. So, St. James Church, right here. This is the center of life, and this went from a little tiny parish church to, you can't see it there, but there's an overflow area back here. This church had 10,000 people doing Mass on Passion Sunday. And can you show the picture of?
Use your mic.
Use your mic.
Go to, yeah, I need the graphic of the empty church. No. No, that's when it was full. That's 10,000 people worshiping. Okay, we were, on the Friday before, we were walking up from doing the Way of the Cross, and this whole thing was empty, okay? I can't tell you what the Blessed Mother did for us, because normally this is what Medjugorje looks like. It's kind of chaotic. There's tons of people there. You can barely move in the town. This is the Croatian Mass, and they sing the entire service on Palm Sunday. It takes 2.5 hours. They even sing the Passion. It's beautiful, but very, very long. And then over here is the confessionals, okay? There's 27 of them on each side. And you can see that the Croatian side is jammed. And this is English, German, French. And look how empty the chairs are. So the Croatians are very, 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 very faithful. And they come from all over the mountainous areas into Medjugorje on holidays. And then there's another complex over here. Is this it, Tim? Was this where we went to Mass? The little building?
No, it's,
Further down over here?
yeah, it's over there.
Yeah, they have their own bookstore, and you can go have masses said for people. There's a little building over here on the side. I think it's this one. You go in there, and the Franciscans will, you can have masses said for people. So it's a huge complex. And then back here, you walk down this aisle here, and you come down to an aisle that takes you to the Way of the Cross and the Luminous Mysteries. Can you flick through that? That's the castle. Okay, go back to that one. See how empty it is on Friday? That was the crowds that I just showed you. That's where they were sitting. So this is the overflow area of St. James Church. And, of course, nobody in town. We were just walking around freely. And it was a gift, honestly, because the place where we were staying is meant to house 80 people, and there was 18 of us. So you talk about being able to become intimate friends with the people around you and to be, you know, have access to everybody. The parish priest, who you would never see. Father Jason is so busy, and he came and gave us a talk on a rainy day when we couldn't go out. So it was just unbelievable. The Blessed Mother set this whole thing up, and it was so special for us. This is Tammy. She has been there 7 times, and she spends a month every time she's there. So she knew everybody. She introduced me to so many people, and she wants to participate in our silver program, and it's great. Okay, move to okay, we got to do Mass. We did Mass every day. So this is Father Jason, and he would be sometimes the main celebrant, and then our guys would be, this is Father Roger, Father James Pierce. They would con-celebrate, and we could do the readings one day. So that's, if you go backwards, that's Father Sassy and I doing the readings. So it's pretty cool.
I think the stations, here's the station.
Yeah, this is us doing, was that the stations? Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the stations. And then they, in 1991, Pope John Paul visited the area, and it was some kind of youth rally. So they did a huge statue. This is the Luminous Mysteries. It's all done in mosaic. So it's absolutely beautiful. I think that's the baptism of Jesus. Yeah, it is.
Are you gonna put these pictures on the website?
This is the wedding feast at Cana. That is Father Sassy and the guys holding up all of our petitions on the cross. There's Father holding all the petitions, so they were touched to the cross. They were actually touched to 3 crosses, the ones at Apparition Hill too. And then they went to the apparitions with us as well. So the Blessed Mother blessed them as well. So but that was taking it right to the top here. I'll just tell you a quick story about this. We were all eating in a restaurant, and we had asked Father Pierce did confessions every night from 5 to 7. So we said, hey, meet us in this restaurant. We're going to be, it's real close to where your confessionals are. And it was pouring down rain, and he walked. So his little hood on the back of his outfit was just covered with water. It was like that deep. And so we said, Father, you look like a drowned rat. And the waiter was there taking our orders. You can see he left a menu dropped there. He just dropped the menu and left. And we're like, what the heck's going on? Comes back with a hairdryer for Father Pierce.
That was awful.
Yeah, everybody's filming it. Yeah. So it was, the people of the town were just like that. Now this is an area of, we were staying in a place called Magnificat, and it's actually, this is Ivana. She is Maria's niece. She was our guide. And this lady right here is from Trinidad and Tobago. I'm wearing the shirt she had on.
Oh, wow.
I just said, oh man, that is such a cool. No, okay, she does have a different one on, I guess. I was already wearing that. But anyway, so she just brought it down and gave it to me. So, thank you. Didn't mean for you to do that, but that's great. So, and this is the guy from Kansas that kind of runs the tour groups that come in.
Wichita.
Aaron?
Wichita.
Oh, yeah. Did I say, what did I say?
You said, I thought she said,
Well, Wichita's in Kansas.
I know.
Oh, okay. And then he had a bunch of people with him from Wichita. These girls right here are great. They want to become Dominicans too. These,
Oh, wow.
Well, there you go.
everybody kept saying, there's something special about you guys. There's something special about you guys. And I think that it was the purity medal. Because we were giving it out to everybody in the group. And she immediately wanted extra purity medals to give her family and is wanting to do a silver wallet. And these two just, I know that when they come in September to do Bishop Fulton Sheen's, that they're going to want to come over here. And this lady right here is from St. Louis, and she's already planning on coming over. So we were able to spread the message about the Dominicans. Oh, and these two as well. She might even be holding up her medal. But anyway, we got to be really close with this group because this is all that was staying there. And so almost every night, that little fireplace would draw everybody to come in and have coffee and talk about their day and what they had, what they'd done. And these are all different Blessed Mother apparitions up here. There's one from Japan, Keto. I think it's kind of a cool collection. And this priest right here, Father Roger, and this lady here, and these two are from Trinidad and Tobago. And then Tammy's from Canada. And these guys are from Michigan. She's from New Hampshire. And we were sitting down one night in front of the fireplace, just Tim and Father Sassy and myself talking and waiting for people to come down. We were going to go to dinner. And some little kids came and sat down. They had just arrived from England and huddled up next to Tim on the couch. And they were introducing themselves. Hi, I'm Isabella. And she was like 3 or 4 years old. And her older brother was Dominic. So we said, Dominic? Well, that's really funny because we're all Dominicans. He didn't know what that meant. But we thought that was cute. Oh, we have to talk about the castle, too. Oh, and that. That's very important. Okay, this, as you're going down from the church, you're coming into the area where the this statue was made for Pope John Paul, and it was down in Serbia somewhere where he was appearing, and they didn't know what to do with it when he left, because it was this big, giant, I think it's 33 feet, everything's 33 feet, 33 feet tall, and this is a big cross that it fits into, and it's called the Resurrection of Christ, okay? And I think in 2001, they moved it to Medjugorje and made it like the 15th station, okay, because that's when Jesus rose. And in 1991, all of a sudden, or not, in 2001, tears started falling down Jesus' leg, and from the Blessed Mother, because this is where she held on to. And I had taken pictures of two of the Blessed Mother holding on to him as he died. That's in the church. And so anyway, the tears, we never know when they're going to come, but they actually started falling while we were there. So you take handkerchiefs, and this becomes a relic, because that's a tear of the Blessed Mother. So I managed to get 8 of them. You don't want to sit there when people are lined up trying to get one, trying to do too many of them. But I wanted all the people that were like, I considered my critical people that we were praying for. Andy with a brain tumor, and I have a niece with cancer. And anyway, the people that I felt like were super critical, that's who got these. And And I tried to combine them with the little miniature version of Jesus, little statue, so that this comes and fits right in here. So, anyway, I think getting a Class 1 relic was kind of cool. And just, it was very moving. I can't even describe it when you're there. You can go back.
The castle or?
Yeah, you can go to the castle. Okay, okay, these are pictures of the castle. This is a real famous spot in Medjugorje, and this is an example of people being changed when they get there. Okay, there was this couple. Her name's Nancy. She's married to Patrick, and she was his third wife. Okay, they were very, very wealthy people from Canada, and Patrick was a little bit of a rounder and kind of living in the world, collecting cars and, you know, doing all kinds of stuff. And his wife said, you need to understand that, you know, being of this world is not where you want to be. You need to think about your future world. So anyway, she brought him to Medjugorje, and it completely changed him in 3 days. They went home. He sold 7 car dealerships and came back with this idea in mind to build this place. And this, they've got like the smallest unit in this whole place. You cannot believe this complex. But this is where they house nuns and priests that come into town. And then if you can't really afford to come to Medjugorje and stay, they'll let you work your way through by taking care of the priests and the nuns that come. So their whole wait staff, the people that clean the rooms, everybody. This is a big building where a lot of priests are. Those people, it's like kids that come in from the United States. It's almost like summer camp to them. You know, they'll spend 6-8 weeks in Medjugorje taking care of these guys. But all these buildings house different priests and nuns when they come into town. And they just treated us like family, again, because I guess we were such a small group. Nancy invites us into the kitchen and sits us all down in her private home. And then she's calling people over to, you know, get their orders, see what they want. And we're like, you don't have to do that. We just came to see what you've got going on here. And they're building another, the place has been under construction for 35 years, and they're building another building right now. And the main guy, the main contractor, is a one-legged Muslim. You can't make this stuff up. The Blessed Mother works in such strange ways. But you can see they utilize a lot of rock because that's so plentiful in that area. So.
He's not converted yet?
No. But he will. I mean, they just leave it up to God. You know? So, anyway, that's, you can kind of see how they construct they utilize what they have in the area. Keep going. That's an olive tree. This is kind of gives you an idea of where you are in the area. Here's Apparition Hill. Here's Cross Mountain. Church is there, and we were kind of here. So, doesn't look like the hike that it is, but oh my goodness, it really is. Statue of the Risen Christ compared to Apparition Hill. So that's just a map of the little area and the little towns that are around it. And this, okay, we have this picture. It was given to us by Nancy and blessed by the Blessed Mother herself, okay? And this is Our Lady of Medjugorje, Our Lady Queen of Peace. So, and the girls said that every time she appears to them, this is what they see. And she gets younger and younger. So, because they're getting older. You know, I think Maria's turned 60 this year. And, but she said the Blessed Mother gets younger and younger, and her eyes are just indescribably beautiful. So anyway, we have that picture. It's been blessed. The Blessed Mother requests that if you have a special request, you take it home and do a 9-day novena. So it's on its second person. We're going to pass it to the third very soon. And it didn't come with specific prayers, although I did have a novena that they gave us in town that you can have if you need it, but she really wanted it to be specific novena to the person who was praying it. So it just depends on your, whatever your wishes are, that's the novena you pray. And
Chris? How do you sign up to get this picture? You said it's being passed around.
you come to me and I'll take care of it. And then what I'm doing is I'm giving, okay, Tim had told me when I was giving out the medals to say this saying, which my brain, I blocked. I just don't know. It's such an easy saying. Carry for grace, share for love, offer for souls. Okay? And I, for the life of me, when I was going to give it to people, it wouldn't come to me. And he'd always pass me in the hall and go like this, and I still couldn't do it. So anyway, we had these little cards made, which I think is really cool because on the back it's got a QR code which takes you to the whole thing about Maccabees and using this as alms. And yet the people are getting a medal blessed in Medjugorje by the Blessed Mother. And so it's just a way to let them know that they're special, whoever's being prayed for. So you give them this. So I will have these available whenever we trade from one to another. When you sign up, you'll get one of these to give that person. Let them know that you're praying for them. And isn't she beautiful? So, and you can read up on the messages. These are both really good books that we have downstairs. Words of Heaven, all the messages. And then this is really a good one. My Heart Will Triumph. So, they're available downstairs, and yeah, I think we're good. So, any questions? Okay. Probably went over way too long, but.
Okay, just one thing, there's a lot of videos, podcasts, such condemning Medjugorje, but I would be basically, there's a lot of conversions, there's a lot of fruit that comes from and through Medjugorje. And I'll just be very honest that when you go back to Rudebach, you go back to La Salette, you go back to Lourdes, Fatima, there were always critics, not only in the church, but also outside the church. And there's things being cited, well, there was a commission that came, there's no supernatural origin of Medjugorje, and it was stated in 2004, 2003, or something of that nature. And I would have to say, that the same things, the same critics exist today as they did then. So be mindful of it. There's always two sides to every story. And I would definitely think that it's real, it's true. And we need, as we look at the world, Medjugorje would be something that would be needed right now. So just kind of look at it in that light. And
Tim, I forgot to bring up the connection between Divine Mercy and Medjugorje.
okay.
Well, you know it.
I mean, I don't know what exactly you're referring to. Yeah, there you go.
I don't know what I did with the paper.
Okay, we'll talk about that next week. But anyway, Father, any questions, anybody? Melissa?
I have heard people say, well, was it German doll, the girls, when they know, just because they blink, doesn't mean it's not true. It's not true.
Yeah, exactly. So, I don't know if anybody heard that. How do you know if it's true or not? Well, I'd say it's faith. It's really just faith.
By the fruit of the messages that she's given in people's visits. But I know in 1987, I made a cursil, and Deacon Tom Gable at that time was not a deacon, but he was my table leader, and Rusty Rising was, I can't remember what they call the term, ahead of the cursil. But that got me started thinking about priesthood, and then later on the next year, as I was still praying about it, I was blessed to be able to go to Medjugorje with my mom and dad, and never experienced the peace that I experienced there. And it just, I guess it was that Medjugorje that had concretized my decision to become a priest, and so I moved forward from that point on. But very simple. But I mean, there's been a lot of priests, like it said, that who've been inspired by Medjugorje, priest and religious. So it is very humbling and very powerful, very peaceful place. But that's all I got to say.
Finish with a blessing. We're done.
Was that?
We'll finish with the.
Oh, a blessing.
Yeah, blessing.
I think I can do that.
You don't have to stand up. You're
The Lord be with you. And with your spirit. May Almighty God bless and keep each of you, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Go in peace.
Okay.